Henry was a dedicated gardener, known for his ability to bring any garden to life with his green thumb. He would often stroll around, walking his dog, and give bits of advice to neighbours whose plants were unhealthy and struggling, complimenting their arrangements and bringing a smile to their day. Henry's father was a farmer, and though he went to law school and became a professor, he never forgot the feel of soil on his hands. He absolutely loved plants. It began with a faint whisper that Henry heard while tending to his plants late at night in his greenhouse. "Henry, your touch is poison," it said. He stopped and looked around, but the greenhouse was empty. At first he thought he needed sleep, but the voice persisted, growing louder each night. Henry began to feel a cold presence in the greenhouse, especially near his favourite plants. The whispers continued, suggesting that his gardening was causing harm. "You will kill them all," they taunted with a sinister cackle. Henry became obsessed with his plants, spending hours caring for them. It was where his world lit up, his zen place after a long day. He would even talk to his plants as he sat tending to them. He began seeing ghostly figures in the greenhouse, their faces filled with accusation and pain. The whispers grew louder, haunting him every night. Years ago, Henry had lost his daughter in a tragic accident in the garden. The memory of that event had always haunted him, but now it seemed to blend with his current fears. The loss of his only daughter, the legacy of wonderful plants from his father's generation to his daughter's. It was a bittersweet hobby, and he had truly begun to grapple with that dichotomy. Desperate, Henry confided in his friends and even talked to a counsellor. He was beginning to buckle under the weight of reconciling the voices and ghosts with the love of his plants and the loss of his daughter. But no one seemed to take him seriously about the voices and the ghosts. They suggested he was just under stress and needed a break. His family became increasingly worried about his state of mind, urging him to take some time off. But Henry refused. He knew what he heard. He knew what he felt. He had to fight this for his father, for his daughter, for his legacy. The whispers became more insistent. "You cannot escape your guilt, Henry," they cried. Henry started seeing the ghostly figures more frequently, their spectral forms following him everywhere. The cold presence became unbearable, chilling him to the bone. What was he ever to do when no one else understood? His gardening began to suffer. He discovered himself daydreaming about the years he had with his daughter, from the moment she was born to her brilliant accomplishments as an adult, the sound of her voice, her sense of humour. During the day, he became paranoid and jumpy, seeing ghostly figures in the shadows. He couldn't tell what was real and what was a figment of his tortured mind. He started doubting his sanity, wondering if he was truly losing his grip on reality. One night, as he was alone in the greenhouse, the whispers became a roar. "Join us, father!" they demanded. He saw the ghost of his daughter, her face twisted in pain and sorrow. Henry's heart dropped at the sight of his beautiful daughter. He cried out in agony and ran out of the greenhouse, desperate to escape the voice and the ghosts. Tears streamed down his face. He locked himself in the bathroom and fell to his knees, begging for it to stop. He cried out to his father and to his daughter, apologizing for anything or everything he may have done in his life to possibly cause them pain. Just as he was about to give in to despair, his house filled with a booming storm of wind and echoing voices. The whispers turned into a furious choir chanting, "You cannot escape us!" They roared. Henry felt a warm presence envelop him, pushing the darkness away. The sudden change in the atmosphere was quite stark. He turned quickly toward the bathtub, and there were the ghosts of his father and daughter. They gazed at him lovingly, but said nothing. He was frozen in place, his eyes trained on them, and then, suddenly, they faded out of his view. All was quiet, no voices, no wind, Henry collapsed on the floor and began to cry tears of joy. He was no longer frightened, and just the gift of seeing the faces of his family was enough to tame his fears that night. And you, dear listener, have you ever heard whispers in the silence of the night? Have you ever felt a cold presence that chills you to the bone? You're not alone in your fear, friend. There's something out there, something evil that delights in tormenting the innocent. Don't let it win. You can fight the darkness. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe and follow us for more. Join us on TikTok and YouTube for more Chilling Chronicles if you dare.